Listening to Say Something Real. I'm your guest host, Lakeshia Myers, sitting in for Michelle Bryant, who is still off trying to find the donut shop for
Man,
for
I
Jermaine
need grease and sugar.
in Washington, D.C. today. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. It's a blistering 6 degrees outside. So if you were going out early this morning, make sure you wrap up because it's cold out there. Jermaine has his hoodie on
Yeah,
in the studio.
I'm over here wrapped up like a Teletubby in a snowsuit. And you do know all the names. So,
I don't know. That was kind of La and Poe. I remember that part. Then it goes, Jermaine.
see, see,
Teletubby.
see.
Mhm.
hmm
You gonna eat a Teletubby
Hey, listen, it's cold as a fool out
today. It
there.
is.
I'm over here shipping these timbers.
You know,
Bird.
it's above ground, so it's better to be seen than be viewed.
Well, since we gonna go there, I might as well give you the word of the day. Yeah. And the word of the day is stay warm.
Stay warm. Okay. All right.
Amen.
We can deal with it. Stay warm.
Stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing.
Okay.
Stay warm.
Stay warm. All right.
Amen.
We got it. All right. That is your advice of the day for Jermaine. Stay warm.
Yeah.
All right, Carvey, how you doing today?
But Kirby got to put his mic back
Carvey got to put his mic back up
over. Put his
there.
mic
Oh,
over
okay.
there.
We can hear him. He said
Kirby
he's
dead
doing good.
house.
For those that were worried about Carvey.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
be quiet.
Carvey, it is slippery out there. So people who don't know how to drive
Or all
or got
tires.
bald tires.
Got
It's,
Kojak
if you
tires.
got Kojak tires, that's it. You
Yeah.
probably go see somebody. Mr. P, why he need to go see them today.
Or go get your ice skating on.
I
Can
mean,
ring.
just go see
Yeah,
Mr. P, Wahid, Walmart.
man. Little Bobo them on Hadley.
Yeah,
Somebody got something.
somebody got something to help. You should not be out here on bald headed type.
Get your
That's
damn juice.
yeah, money player out here. Like you at the petted ice
Yeah.
center. So make sure you keep it wrapped up. Today in history, Jermaine, guess what happened?
What's that?
Around the time you was born, probably
What year was it?
1973.
No.
You were born.
Uh,
Give me 4 years.
yeah. Give
Whole
me
lot
some
of,
more.
whole lot of
Not that many, but some. Not that many.
not that many, but some of them.
Yeah.
In 1973, the Miami Dolphins win Super Bowl 7. This was capping their perfect season. Black players on this team included running back Eugene Mercury Morris, wide receiver Marlon Briscoe, and wide receiver Paul Warfield. This was the miracle in Miami.
Yeah.
That was the perfect season that the Dolphins had. I don't think that's been repeated since.
No,
So
it hasn't.
it has not been repeated since.
You know what? Since we giving out these moments in history,
Hmm.
I figured I'd join you
Okay.
uh, with a Black History moment.
Okay.
Uh, you know, what's today's date?
January 14th.
Yeah, January 14th.
Uh-huh.
Back in the day,
Back in the day.
Tyrone was the first black man to borrow $10.
You know what? The time on Fort Lauderdale, you borrowed $10.
He was the first black man to ask and borrow $10.
Did he pay it back?
Now that's for a whole different
Okay.
episode.
All right.
But we talking about today's date is the first in history.
Somebody said, let me hold.
Brother Tyrone, let me
Let me hold $10.
$10.
All right. Tyrone W., if that was you, borrowing money
That's your moment
down
in
at the
Black
bus
history.
stop on Wisconsin Avenue, you borrowed $10 from somebody, they still wait.
Let a brother hold
That's
$10. This year in Black History moment.
it. Our other Black History moment came from 1940. One of America's greatest fighters for civil rights, Horace Julian Bond, was born on January 14th, 1940, in Nashville, Tennessee. He was an educator, civil rights leader, politician, author, and spokesperson for the disenfranchised. Julian Bond will be remembered as an integral part of the Civil Rights Foundation that transformed the lives of millions of African Americans. He graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and was one of the founders of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Bond entered politics and served in the Georgia House from 1965 to 1975 and in the Georgia State Senate from 1975 to 1986. Julian Bond passed away in 2015. If you
Mhm.
remember the movie Ray, when the Georgia um, State House honored Ray Charles years later after like banning him from the state of Georgia, uh, Julian Bond was actually like he reenacted the moment because it was actually his time in the legislature. But he made sure that they passed Georgia on My Mind as the Georgia state song
Oh wow.
and honored Ray Charles and of course, made sure that he received all the accolades that he needed to for refusing to play segregated audiences in Georgia. So Julian Bond was one of the people that was instrumental in that piece of legislation. So Julian Bond, we remember him on what been his birthday today. Ah, so many things, Jermaine, that we have to get to. I did talk to Michelle. She was like, "People were texting me and don't forget to make stuff."
Hey man,
And she
thank
was
you,
like, I didn't
peoples.
know what they were talking about. Did you say something about some donuts? And Jermaine, I was on. I said, yeah. Jermaine said it's this place that sell donuts and chicken,
Hmm.
called Astros, and he wanted you to go. She was like, donuts and chicken. She was like, well, I guess if chicken and waffles can be a thing, I guess donuts and chicken. So she is actively searching for
Green some
the
sugar.
grease and sugar.
Hey man.
I told her she said be a trail outside
Yeah,
the
that
place
could be a
of
trip.
the grease and sugar.
Huh?
So she will be actively looking for your donuts. So we did make sure that we got her. Yeah.
I
So
appreciate it.
in news that's happening in our purview, state news today: medical marijuana might get new life in Wisconsin. I'm sure that makes some people feel happy. One of the issues with medical marijuana is not a secret that Wisconsin is basically an island unto itself because I think Minnesota has legalized marijuana in some shape or form. Illinois, of course, has recreational. I believe Iowa has something too. So Michigan. So we are like the only state that has not even decided to have medical marijuana. Overwhelmingly, I think 86% of people across the state have, answered preliminary questions saying they would appreciate to have some form of legalization, whether it be medical or recreational marijuana. Of course, that has been held up in the state house for quite some time because Republican legislators do not want to see recreational marijuana in the United States, or excuse me, in Wisconsin. But according to this article that was published yesterday by Molly Beck in the Journal Sentinel, Wisconsin marijuana legislation legalization faces familiar headwinds in a new legislative session. This is something that is a budding of ideas from both of the Republican leaders, Robert Boss and Devin LeMahieu. Republican leaders of the state legislature and the Democratic governor are again tackling the issue of marijuana legalization in the new legislative session, but familiar divisions persist over an issue that has broad support in Wisconsin, but not at the Capitol. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu said in a Sunday interview he was on Upfront, his caucus would be open to considering legislation this session from the state assembly to create a medical marijuana program if assembly leaders remove their previously proposed idea of establishing state-run dispensaries. But as of December, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said he still preferred the proposal. So the issue with these state-run dispensaries, which I don't see why that would be an issue, because it would be state-run, you could actually tax it in a certain way, make sure that it was regulated, which is some of the issues that they're having right now with the hemp industry. And if Lena Taylor is listening, when she was in the Senate, she fought hard to make sure that we would have some type of regulation with hemp again, because Wisconsin used to be one of the top hemp producers, and you can do so many things with hemp. You can make bricks out of hemp. You can do all kinds of stuff when it comes to hemp. And you can actually remove the THC component from hemp and use it for other purposes. So a lot of the people in the hemp industry are also looking for some support that could come through this particular piece of legislation. But you have differing of ideologies between Republicans that had control of both the House and the Senate. in Madison. So we will see what happens. Um, Wisconsin, as I said, is among a shrinking minority of states that do not have a recreational or medical use marijuana program. About half of states have legalized small amounts of marijuana for recreational use, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, including neighboring Minnesota, Illinois, and Michigan. Illinois actually makes millions of dollars in revenue, and I'm sure people go across the border to get it and come back with it. You leaving money on the table, Wisconsin. It's time to give it a program.
I think Wisconsin is doing and they're
Country.
able to keep
Mhm.
those that are incarcerated with that charge.
Yeah, because you have to do that piece too. So even
Hmm.
if you have medical marijuana or even if you go as far as legalization, which is not or for recreational purposes, which is not the conversation right now, eventually I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
Whether federally or at the state level, you still can't do that piece without commuting those people's sentences that went to jail for weed. So I think, that's the other piece of that too. So you have to think about 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, because if I can keep you on community monitoring that you pay for, the company that has your ankle bracelet or DOC, stays in business. You have to pay for, uh, monitoring that you have in the community or incarceration that you have while you're locked up.
yeah.
So you think about that versus the amount of money. I still think it would outweigh though the amount of money and people, the diverse number of people who have accepted that there is a medicinal purpose for marijuana too.
Well, yeah, it will eventually, but
But you still have to, in the beginning, you still got to deal with that,
well,
the incarceration piece. So yeah, I think Illinois collected $36 million in tax revenue from Wisconsin residents purchasing marijuana in the land of Lincoln where cannabis is legal. And that was just in 2024. So I'm just saying, $36 million from Wisconsinites going across the border to buy it.
but this is the crazy part about it.
And it is agribusiness, and we are an agricultural state. I don't understand why. But
But it's loopholes because you can get it on the way back. You got the
police,
sheriffs there
yeah,
that's
they wait.
pulling you over,
Yeah.
that's waiting, that know
Uh-huh.
that it's a chance, and then especially if you're black, there's a
Uh-huh.
group of y'all,
Yeah.
your car look a certain way,
Mhm.
they
You get profiled for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they
They're like, "Oh, you
automatically
went to the
pull you over
dispensary."
out the
Yeah.
gate looking for that.
Yeah.
They use some type of excuse where you were speeding or your lights or you switch,
Uh-huh.
you didn't change the wrong, but
Right.
their whole motive is
To catch you coming from. So this is catch-22. So some things that we gotta work out in our state for sure. But it seems as though that people have surely spoken that they want some type of legalization. But again, you can't with changing some of their commuting some of the sentences have gone to prison for marijuana charges for sure. In other news going on in the Milwaukee area, 8 people. Hold up, let me not do that one first. Let me back up. Talk about Republican state legislators may introduce a bill to limit abortion to 14 weeks. Again, popular issues that have to do with health. You have abortion, and you have marijuana. All the things that are happening at this point. And don't forget the phone lines are open at this point. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250, or 5253. 414-444-5253 is the alternate number. You can join our conversation this morning. So now this one is messy. I'm just gonna say this. It makes no sense. And here again is a situation where a man thinks they know something about giving birth to somebody wants to dictate when a person can have an abortion. So again, we're talking about Devin Libby, who is the majority leader in the Senate. He said in this interview up that if the state Supreme Court upholds abortion as we have it now, you cannot get an abortion in Wisconsin after 20 weeks of pregnancy.
Mm.
So for a 2016, you're like 4.5-ish months by that time. Okay? He wants to change it to 14 weeks. That's 3.5 months. Some people don't even know they are pregnant by that time. Don't believe me? This TV show said I didn't
No,
know I
no,
was
no, no,
pregnant.
that's true.
It's people who do
That's
not
very
know.
true.
So he wants to restrict abortion to 14 weeks if the Wisconsin Supreme Court upholds access. This is going to be a huge issue as we look to April 1st, which is the state Supreme Court race. You have Brad Schimmel, who used to be the former Attorney General, versus Susan Crawford, who was running for state Supreme Court. Um, but yeah, so Republican lawmakers who control the legislature could pursue legislation that would bar women from seeking abortions after 14 weeks of pregnancy if the state Supreme Court preserves access as part of a lawsuit before the High Court. As I said, Devin Lemmy Hughes said, make abortion legal at full term. That's not full term. 20
Yeah,
weeks is not full term.
yeah, yeah,
Full term is 36 to 40 weeks.
yeah.
This is indicative of someone who did not pass high school biology.
Well, one, you have a man that don't even know what carrying a child inside of his body is
Right.
giving you advice.
A win.
And yeah, and it's crazy to me because you are a full man that never,
A full man that will never experience
that will
giving
never
birth,
experience
pregnancy,
that.
or
You
giving
will
birth.
never experience uh, menstrual cycles.
Right.
You will never experience cramping from menstrual cycles.
Mhm.
Uh, so you would never have to experience even catching cancer in your uterus.
Right.
So um, to have these numbers, try to implement those into play is crazy
Right.
because you really have no clue.
No, it's all based off emotion and false ideology.
You-
It's based off emotion and false ideology of that's flawed. The logic behind it is flawed. And like I said, at 14 weeks, a person does not know, a woman does not know, may not know that she's pregnant by that time. And if you're just finding that out to make that decision without having, full knowledge, all of these things that he's calling what we have now, the current law is 20 weeks. You cannot have an abortion in Wisconsin after 20 weeks. So you're going to cut it back 6 weeks. Yeah, that's crazy. So, and then he said they make it legal at full term. 20 weeks is not full term. Again, it's not full term. Or if they keep it at, he said, if they, no, he said if they make abortion legal at full term, or if they keep it at the 20-week restriction, we could try 14. So again, you're saying full term, first of all,
Well,
nobody's
you
doing
can't go,
full
yeah, but
term
you
for
can't,
you. That no state that I'm aware of does a full term.
yeah, because the baby is already developed full term. That is not an abortion. That's, that's almost like pre-birth. That's almost like
At that point, yeah. So
early.
when you're looking at this from that perspective, in 14 weeks, a fetus cannot survive outside. Yeah. At 20 weeks.
Before time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
just
I
put them
said,
in.
full term,
Yeah, put them in incubator.
36 to 40 weeks.
Yeah,
Like that's no states are doing that. But yeah. So again, like I said, this is something that has not come up yet, but is most definitely in talks because of emotional and false logic that's happening on that side. I remember when I was in the legislature, they had legislation called like Born Alive, the Born Alive bill. And I was like, you
Everybody's born alive.
right. So then I was like, well, what are you saying? So it was like anyway, it was a whole it
So
was a
you
whole
saying
thing.
so you said it's a possibility that you could be born dead,
Yes, delivered deceased.
delivered
Yes.
dead. Well, then that's yeah, that's called stillbirth.
Hmm.
That has nothing to do with abortions.
I'm telling you, it was crazy. I'm looking to tell you what it was. Here it is. From 2021, Wisconsin Republicans reintroduced Born Alive abortion bill. I know I ain't crazy. This is because I remember I was like, what? And it was like healthcare providers who fail to care for babies in the rare case they are born alive
Uh,
after an attempted abortion could face felony or homicide charges under a Republican backed proposal once again before the legislature. The plan was introduced and passed by the Republican controlled legislature during the last legislative session, but it was vetoed by Governor Tony Evers. The reintroduced plan is likely to follow the same trajectory this session. So, under the bill, if a baby breathes, has a beating heart, or shows movement of voluntary muscles following an attempted abortion. So again, this is an expelled fetus that you're now this is what they were proposing. Healthcare workers are required to provide immediate medical care and ensure the child is immediately transported and admitted to a hospital. The penalty for failing to do so would be a felony charge with a fine up to $10,000 and 6 years in prison. So that never passed because it was stopped by the governor
well,
twice.
well, yeah, because what you just read really don't
It
make
doesn't make
sense to me.
sense. I know it doesn't make biologically it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it don't make sense to me because maybe they don't know what abortions is
right.
because you can't try to you can't try to abort the baby and then the baby is born. Like that's not possible. If you abort the baby, it's terminated. Your pregnancy is terminated. Um, so I'm just trying to figure out how.
Again, this was, to activate the base and make people.
Wait, if you're born and the baby is aborted, then that's murder. If you are born, and then they kill the baby, that's murder. That's different. And
But then you have to look at the fact that again, like I said, current law is 20 weeks.
right,
Survival outside of
exactly. That's what I'm. Listen to what I'm saying. So
so
if the baby is born,
it
that
wasn't
means it went through its full term. It went through the 9 months.
right.
It's born.
But that's not what they
That's not what they
that's the
saying.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Because again, if the baby go through the full term and is born,
Mhm.
and the baby then is killed, that's murder. Different. Exactly. That's right.
What you know, interesting that you asked for office and his cousin are that you be 18 and education.
Oh, yeah.
People ask it all the time. Get enough people to elect
Hey
you. And if
man,
ain't nobody running, you might just get it.
listen,
It
knocking
has
on
happened.
people's doors. You, you
Said don't
strange
take much,
information.
huh?
Hey, listen, in case you are some of the stuff I'm hearing is just stupid.
I'm happy. when you know, it is. And I think I had this conversation with somebody. They were talking about matter of fact, it was on Facebook. Uh, somebody said they said, "What do you mean? All these people were complaining about," and they specifically mentioned this and the uproar and having hundreds of people at the school board meeting. They were like, "Yeah, nobody registered." I'm not gonna say nobody. Very few people, and when I say very few, like 3 people decided to run for school board. I said yes. I said because I said that's the logic of people. I want to complain about it, but am I willing to put myself on the line? It's easier to yell and do it, and then when the moment is over, you lose steam. But how many people are actually willing to run for office and go through the process of being one that's accountable for creating that change? Well, you're listening to Say Something Real. We'll be back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the New Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are